Aloha and welcome to Connection to the Cosmos with your host, me, Dr. Lisa Thompson, where I have out-of-this-world conversations with extraordinary people. And today I have my friend Kat Decker on, and she is incredible. I cannot wait for you guys to meet her. So before I bring her on, though, just a few announcements. First of all, if you have not had a chance to grab my free 20-minute meditative journey to meet your galactic family and guides, it is on my website, mysticmanta.com. It's just right at the top. You put your email address in and it takes you to that link to download that meditation. Also, the Galactic Retreat is coming up September 14th to the 17th here on the Big Island of Hawaii. And Kat is actually going to be here on the retreat with me. So I'm very excited about that. And then if you are visiting any other time and want to come on one of my Big Island UFO tours, please reach out, sign up for that. We always see incredible activity. And then finally, just announcing that I have a new modality that I am offering, something that I have created called Quantum Cosmic Energy Healing. And this is something that I can do either in person or over Zoom. So that is also on my website, mysticmanta.com. Without further ado, though, now I'm going to bring on Kat. Hello, Kat.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So first, let me tell people about you. So Kat Decker is an intuitive healer and galactic channeler with a passion for helping others remember who they are as multidimensional beings. She's a Reiki Master and Practitioner. She is certified in Past Life Regression, Soul Coaching, Gateway Dream Coaching, and Red Lotus Practioner. She's also a Rahanni Practitioner, Star Healing Intergalactic Energy Practioner, massage therapist, and has studied many other areas of spirituality. You have quite the breadth in your
I've studied a lot.
right?
Yeah.
Well, so just so people can understand a little more about your background and how you got into all of these different modalities, I would love for you to share with us, like, kind of how you grew up, what kind of household, spiritual, religious, something else.
You know, both my parents were teachers. And they had their own spiritual background, but we didn't really grow up in a church. They became more spiritual in my 30s.
Okay.
Probably. And so I think I really found God, source energy, when I was 15 and after my grandmother died. And so I started searching and did that for many, many years and grew up in the church with my children when they were younger. And then I was in high tech. I was an executive admin in high tech in Silicon Valley. And when I turned 40, my father came down with cancer. Mm-hmm. And we thought he only had 6 months. He ended up lasting 5 years. But that's when my life changed. Okay. I left high tech and wanted to spend that time with him and help him with all of that. And I went into this little metaphysical store, thought it would be fun, and found Reiki. I had no idea how to say it, but I knew that I had to do it. And I felt crystals for the first time and had my awakening. Okay. And so from that, I just kept learning and went to massage school and understood the body and met Denise Lynn and started working with her. And then found Sunny Dawn Johnston and lots of other teachers. And so it's been 13 years of certifications and just kind of learning about myself. And through that time, my family has adjusted for the most part until the galactic. So this is a whole different conversation, right? Yeah. I remember when we were camping and we were talking about Reiki and my family having a hard time with Reiki. And now Reiki's kind of normal, right?
Yeah.
That's easy. But so they finally accepted the Reiki. And then when the galactic stuff really kind of exploded for me a year ago. And thank you for all your help in figuring out what that was, by the way. I highly recommend her services. When that happened, I was really hesitant to kind of come out of that closet.
Mm-hmm. It can be challenging because it's like really, I mean,
It's
It
out
really
there.
it is out there. Way more than, okay, there's energy. Yeah, like you're saying,
Yeah,
Reiki is more mainstream now.
right. I mean, they do it in hospitals. It's so different.
Mm-hmm.
But you mentioned galactic, and people kind of look at you sideways, and so that's been the biggest challenge, I would
Okay.
say, in the last year for me.
Okay. So let's, I guess we'll start with, because we share common teachers and mentors. We both
Yeah.
have with Denise Lynn, who we both absolutely adore, and Sunny Dawn Johnston. And so when, I guess, first tell me, last year, so a year ago, what was the first experience that you had that really, you were like, oh, there's
Yeah,
something galactic here?
that was a big one. I knew I was from a different universe, but I didn't really know much past that. And last year I was at a retreat with Sunny, and we were in Sedona, of all places. If you want to get activated, go there.
Yeah.
And the last day of the retreat, I asked Brandy Porter, who was fantastic. I asked her for a crystalline DNA activation. I had truly no idea what that was, but my higher self kind of said it. I'm like, okay, I'll go with it.
Mm-hmm.
And gosh, I was on the table, and all of a sudden I felt this energy coming through my body, and I couldn't move. It was actually a little scary. My entire body froze up. My ears vibrated, my face, everything. And I was just trying to breathe through what was happening with my body. And now I understand a little bit better. I think all the cells are changing and trying to get into that new frequency. But my hands went out to the side, and I felt them change into 3 fingers.
Okay.
And I wasn't going to tell anybody that, because I thought I was nuts. And then afterwards, Brandy told me that both she and Sunny, because Sunny had to come in because I couldn't get out of it. So she called in the angels, and they worked on me to kind of get back in my body. But they both saw that my fingers had changed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I think that was the beginning of me trusting myself in, okay, at least somebody else saw what happened. And then I trusted what I felt. And it kind of started there.
Well, and then Brandy, I think she's the one that pointed you to me, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. She said, you need to work with Lisa. And I saw you on one of the 365 classes with the human design.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I contacted you and did the Meet the Galactic family. And that was incredible. And there's something in having someone else witness it with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a huge difference, because we can have all sorts of experiences on our own. But when someone else is there and feels it and senses it and can give feedback, then you're not alone. And that's why I so appreciate the work that you do, because there's so many of us that don't really understand what's happening. And then when it does, it usually, it just hits like a train would. And you just kind of have to breathe through it and then find mentors. And it's not easy to find galactic mentors.
Well, it's not, and there are different types, right? They have different agendas, different things. So, I mean, with any kind of mentor or teacher, you have to find someone that you resonate with their energy, right, first and foremost, right?
Yeah. I mean, one of my daughters, when I had to tell her about everything, and so, and kind of say at some point I'm going to come out on Facebook, which I did a few weeks ago.
So proud of you.
Thank you. It was terrifying. I wrote the post and I closed the laptop and I went to bed. I mean, I couldn't even look at anything right away. But my daughter was worried that I would have the grandchildren and that a spaceship would come and pick up the grandkids. Like, it's not like that. It can be if you want to, but I said, that's not what I'm interested in at this point. Not until Hawaii.
Right. Yes, I know. It's funny because last year on my Sacred Soul Kona retreat, I had one of my ladies, and she just every night she's like, pick me up, pick me up. So, okay, well, so you came out on Facebook sharing your galactic stuff, and then what was the response like?
The response was actually beautiful. It was so nice. I didn't die. I didn't get any crazy messages from my family or friends. And actually it was really nice because I had a few people, some that have been my teachers, thank me, for having the resolve to go ahead and do that and to come out, because it makes it easier for them if they need to.
It does. Well, and it makes, so the more of us that are waking up to who we really are and knowing that we are more than just this earth life.
Yeah.
We're willing to speak up and share. It helps validate other people's experiences. And for me, that's when I started writing about my experiences, and I was getting feedback like, thank you, thank you. I feel seen and like I'm not crazy. And so that gave me the courage to really step out. And then just having people like you and all the people that have been doing my sessions. And it's just, the more that you do it, and for you, the more that you're stepping into this, there's not going to be any more fear. There's no worry whatsoever, because it's your true purpose and calling. It's who you are here to be.
Yeah. And when we understand that we're so much more than Lisa or Kat.
Yeah.
Right. This is the shell that I'm in now. This is not at all who I am.
Right.
Right. We have so many gifts from other lifetimes, and that we've done this stuff before, and we're here now for this reason.
Mm-hmm.
And, when I was a kid, I always looked up at the stars. I've always loved anything sci-fi, just loved all that stuff. And now it all makes sense. But, we're here now, I think, to help the young ones understand who they are, to help teenagers who may not have parents that are open yet, and they have no idea what's happening to them.
Yeah. I love that you say that, because recently I've had a couple opportunities to work with younger kids, which, one was a 16-year-old, and her parents are so open-minded and accepting. And so the fact that they got her a session to help her so she wouldn't stay stuck in patterns and trauma. And then I worked with my youngest one, a 10-year-old, to understand what she was experiencing in her house, because she's seen all of these different entities and different galactic beings as well. And so it's just, it's pretty beautiful, because I never thought I would work with kids, but why not? They actually need help there.
Sure. And 100 years ago, people like us were thrown into insane asylums.
Yes.
There was no place. There
Right.
wasn't an internet for people to find us, or parents. And my youngest daughter had her awakening at 15 during art class.
Okay.
And her galactic guide is from Sirius. And so she woke up in art class not remembering the last 15 minutes. And all over her page was Sirius and her guide's name and this picture of the guide and all these symbols. And she called me totally freaked out. I was excited. I thought it was great. She did not think it was as exciting. And it was really hard for her, because she was the only one that she knew.
Mm-hmm.
And she tried to talk to some of her friends, and they didn't understand. And she kind of withdrew and stopped going to school. It was just too scary for her. And so I don't want that to happen to other children if at all possible.
So how old is she now?
26.
Okay. So has she embraced it more now?
No.
No, not at all.
No. She was funny. I mean, when she woke up, she could communicate with animals. She could hear the trees sing. And she saw people that had passed, and she would actually walk down the hallways at school and see almost like a pit of fire, and she could feel the burn on her legs. So she just
Wide awake.
Saw it all.
Yeah.
And it was really scary. And so she went through a period of time where she thought maybe there was something wrong with her and that she wasn't seeing things. And now she knows that's not true,
Mm-hmm.
but she's afraid if she opens that Pandora's box again, that she's not quite ready for that. I'm ready for her to do it. But the funny thing is her guide is named Azisha. We'll be in the car. I can hear Azisha yelling at me to get to her. I'm like, you're not my guide.
Right?
Yell at her. Like, it's not my fault. She's a grown woman. You know, they still try to get through as much as they can get through.
Yeah. Well, and my daughter, she is starting to be curious and open about where she's from. And
that's exciting.
Yeah, we have a naturopathic doctor here who really sees her. And he's like, he asked me, like, have you done a regression on her to find out where she's from? And I'm like, not yet, but at some point.
How
she's
old is she?
Almost 17.
So she's getting ready.
Yeah. So at least she knows that she actually recently thanked me for giving her part alien.
That's cute.
That's something, right? That because for a while she was just like, I don't want anything to do with you. You're embarrassing and all of that. So
sure, it's our job as moms to embarrass our children.
Yes, and I remember going through that myself as a teenager because my mother was into all of this spiritual woo-woo stuff, and I inadvertently was in it, and then embraced it. But it took a while for me to embrace because I'm like, my mom is crazy, all her friends are crazy. But now I thank her for introducing me to that world, right?
Because you went to a special high school.
It wasn't a no, I went to public high school. It was a spiritual school of enlightenment. Okay. So like going, I mean, not church, but it was basically like if Abraham Hicks had a big house that people would come to regularly for classes.
It was like that.
It was like that, and doing different kind of practices, interesting ones, blindfolded archery and a lot of blindfolded stuff.
Yeah, I wish there were more. I'm sure there are some, but I wish there were more like that, more places for these kids to really experience. And if they don't like it, okay. But if they could experience what it's like before they lose it all.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, it would. And I mean, I think at some point we're getting there in society, but we need some big changes in our systems.
I know. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah. So, okay. So last year you had this experience in Sedona, and then over the last year, then what's been going on for you with this?
So it's grown exponentially. So from that, now from that, I got a healing, a physical healing in the palm of my hands that from that first being that I can use to, it's not a physical healing. It's interesting. What it does is, you can go through all these lessons to learn something, and you don't want to take someone's choices away, but sometimes you're stuck and you just can't get beyond that.
Yeah.
What this does is help push that final piece beyond whatever that is.
Okay.
And so the energy comes through kind of like Reiki does. And I go up to the crown and it goes out my hands, but it's such an intense energy. It's very different, and it's a higher frequency.
Yeah.
So it's not beautiful, if I can say. It's not beautiful. I have to breathe a certain way to be able to release the energy as it's coming. My body starts vibrating. Having your ears vibrate is a really weird sensation. Can I just say that? So it has to come through, but it's beautiful. and it's just an intensity, and it lasts for about 20 minutes, probably. It depends on what the person is going through, and they have their own experience. And then, so that's that. And then working with Dr. Sue Morter and the breath work to come into the body and really get the higher self in the body. When I started doing that, I would change into that being again. Mm-hmm. And then the longer I did that, then I transferred to another being, a second one that would come, and I will be channeling that one, and my face morphs and my mouth comes down to very tiny and my head gets bigger than it already is. And then the third is a light language, which is this beautiful feminine being. And that's a higher vibration. Each one is almost its own frequency.
Okay.
So through the breath work and through that, I've been able to kind of figure out that. So the light language is beautiful, and that's with my hands. Mm-hmm. And then so there are 12 altogether.
Okay.
And they're different. I found that they're different aspects. And this is where it gets super woo-woo.
Yeah.
Different aspects of myself, mm-hmm. of my higher self in different dimensions.
Yes.
Right. So, and so you helped me figure that out, which was incredibly helpful, because having them come into my body then isn't as scary.
Right. That's when I figured that out, I'm like, oh, okay, it's just me.
Right. It makes all the difference, because sometimes when people channel, I don't know if that's the case.
Right.
And I've had some people, Sunny was concerned about that at first until I told her what that was. And then, she understood. Mm-hmm. And I have a mantis, which I love. Super cool. I'm not sure what his purpose is yet. I actually think it's to give me peace.
Okay.
But it's a beautiful feeling when he comes in. And
real quick, was last week the first time that you felt him come in?
So last week was the first time he came in fully.
Okay.
Before that, and that's a good question. Before that, I had felt him, and I think he's number 6. I think that's right, 6. I had felt him, and I knew it was a mantis, but he hadn't come in yet. Okay. So last week in Sedona, during a sound healing, and I was right by the sound bowls. So it was that frequency, and he came in fully and moved my hands and my ankles. And that's the first time they have been fully with my legs as well.
Okay.
That was new.
Super interesting about you think maybe he's number 6 is that was our 6th group that we have done.
Oh, that's perfect then. Yes. So he was number 6, and I never got to finish that class, but he came through anyway.
Right.
In Sedona. So that was really neat. And then I have an octopus one. Have you ever seen the octopus ones?
No, but I know. We have octopus here,
okay.
And I know octopus are complete ETs.
Can I say that was really hard for me?
Okay. Why?
Because all of a sudden I'm like, am I like a gelatinous blob with these tentacles that kind of go like this? It was beautiful and just weird for my brain to wrap around what that was. For some reason, the mantis was easier than the tentacle being, but the tentacle being is actually quite lovely, and he accesses information in all timelines and all dimensions through the tentacles. Mm. And so it's almost like he can go through, and as he moves, there are reams of information that he accesses.
It's so cool.
So
how does that information come through for you then?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
That's part of this whole year process. Because as they come in, I can feel them a little bit, and then I get another one, and then I get another one. And so the one I've worked with the most is the first one with the healing.
And do you know what one that is? Like what group it is or where they are
I
from?
want to say, I want to say Veda.
Vega.
Vega is that right?
Vega is a star in the Lyra system.
They're small,
Okay.
very, very small. And I don't know his name yet. I'm trying to work on the name, but that's part of
Okay.
me getting quiet
Mm-hmm.
and really kind of delving into each one. And I have to do more of that
Yeah.
because I know I have to find it out for myself.
Yes.
No, that's how I have to connect. And I think there's still some fear probably with some of that. And so that's been the last week since I got back from Sedona. That's what I've been working with the most, is releasing some of that fear from past lives, from this one. It doesn't serve me, not at all helpful. And I know they're waiting for me to kind of get to business.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Let me share something with you that might help inspire you. So, at the beginning of the year, I got a strong message that I was supposed to lead these different sessions with these different groups. And like we were talking about, I now know they're just different aspects of me. And so that helped me be like, okay, I can bring in myself. Like I can tap into that
Right.
different realm. Something that is more outside of myself. Yeah, there's like, can I do that? But so I didn't know what these sessions, what they were going to be like. But
When you created them, you weren't sure what it was really.
no, what I was told was trust us. We will show up and whatever needs to happen will happen. And so the first session were the Arcturians, which I knew like, okay, I can do Arcturians for sure because
Right.
And then also Syrians, because now I know that life. And so each week I have just been, I know what the general themes are, but in terms of what's coming out of me, it just
Really?
comes in the moment. And it has been a true test of trust and really trusting them, me, that,
Right.
and that it's all for a beautiful higher and greatest good kind of purpose.
See, and that's really the focus.
Yeah.
Right. Is being of service and sorry, I'm writing some of this down for my own notes.
I wanted to share that with you because
Thank you.
as I'm stepping through it, because I'm in new territory as well. Like really, it's only been in the last year that I've been doing the vocal channeling. And that was, again, started with Arcturians, but now it's going through with these other groups and these other, like you're saying, the energy is flowing and that healing energy from these different realms. It's pretty powerful.
Well, and like I told you also, when I was at this retreat, when you're talking about the vocal, when you lower resistance, everything's a lot easier. And so I want to tell everybody, when I was sleeping at 4:30 in the morning apparently for 20 minutes, right, one of my roommates woke up and heard me, and I was to the right of her, heard me talking in a different language that was not human. And she really wanted to see, but she was like this. I don't want to see if she's shapeshifted. I don't want to see what she looks like. And she was kind of afraid. But it was cute because in that moment, she knew she had galactic as well.
Okay.
And it is still hard for her. She has several businesses. It's still hard for her to step into her regular spiritual stuff, and doing the galactic is that another layer. And so she was afraid if she looked, then it would really activate. So she kind of put it aside. But one of the women there who I met at a retreat last year came to me and said that she had started to realize she's galactic.
Okay.
And she's a beautiful woman in her 70s, had no idea that
Yeah.
this would ever be her path at all. And so that was pretty neat.
It is.
There are more of us.
There are. And again, the
Yeah.
more that, like me stepping out, you stepping out now, the more that those of us that really are stepping out and willing to put ourselves out on the limb and shine our light and be like, okay,
Right.
then it does help other people wake up or activate and be able to then also be a light for this.
Well, something that Sunny had said to me when I was talking about my fear about it, and it was really helpful. She had said that when she started the mediumship and the angels, as did all of these other people that are in that space, they were on the fringe of what society accepted.
Yes.
And now everyone knows mediums, right? There are
Angels.
TV shows about it, right?
Right.
And so that's been so accepted. And she named several. I won't name them because I don't know if they wouldn't want their names done, but several people that are in that doing all the, books and such. They're about to step into the galactic, but they haven't yet. And so because it's still on that fringe.
Yeah.
But they're also realizing that that is going to have to be something that comes out sooner than later. Because I don't know about you, but and I'm sure other people that follow you, there's this sense of needing it to happen now.
Timelines are speeding up.
Yes, thank you.
Are going to have like open communication and I mean, and it helps that the government is finally starting to admit that these things are real, just for people who haven't followed this. So 2017, there were leaked videos from the Navy, whistleblowers leaked those videos. 2020 is when the Pentagon finally came out in the middle of COVID and said, yes, these things are real. So the government fully admitted it, but it was buried because of COVID. And then in 2021, the Pentagon released the same videos that were leaked saying, okay, here's the footage, even though people had already seen these videos. Last year, Congress had its first hearing since the 1960s to make it safer for whistleblowers to come out about what they have seen, what they experience. And already this year, we've had an uptick in like sightings, experiences. So it's like almost a snowball effect, I think, of what's happening.
Yeah. So why do you think we've had more sightings? Do you think it's to prepare people, to let them know what's happening?
Yeah, I do. And because our galactic family wants us to know about them, but they can't just land because we have free will.
Right.
And so those of us that want to connect, anyone can intentionally ask to have an experience. And when you intentionally ask, then it will be given. Just like with the angels, the archangels, any of that, you have to ask. And so more and more people are seeing things that are opening their minds. And then those of us who really are experiencing these other lives, but also, the more that the government is saying, okay, these things are real. So then the skeptical people are now kind of flipping to like, oh, they're a little more curious. And so I think that, hopefully in our lifetime, because you and I were both in our 50s, hopefully in our lifetime, we will have like open communication and become part of the galactic family.
I think we will. I mean, like you said, timelines are speeding up exponentially. And I mean, from what when I talked about earlier with Reiki, even from what was accepted in 2010 is very different.
Yeah.
Now, extremely different. And so I think more people are going on stage, more people are talking about it.
Yeah.
Younger people are talking about it. And again, like you said, you can see them.
Yeah. And what's really ultimately, because we are all connected, we are all we have all of these experiences, every single one of us. It's just some of us are ready to realize it more than other people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, I agree.
And so that's like you and I realizing, okay, this is just different aspects of ourselves because we're not separate from it. Just like
No.
we're not separate from source either.
Right.
Right?
Right. Absolutely. And when we realize that, then, and I think that's probably hard for some people to understand.
Yeah.
Right. It's much easier to think that it's just this one lifetime. And I think when you go past, but I always say, if you want to experience what it's like to be a woman, you have to be a woman.
Yeah.
Or a man, whatever experience you have to have. And to think that we're only here for a blip.
Right.
Doesn't make sense.
No. And well, and you, I mean, so you and I were both trained from Denise and Past Life Regression,
Yeah, he's
right?
wonderful. Yeah.
And so working with our clients, obviously they're having these other experiences.
Right. And they all have value.
Mm-hmm.
They all have value. Sometimes it's just to witness someone else and to help them on their journey.
Yeah.
But we're all connected. And like when I was at Denise's, but there were 12 of us, I think. And she saw past lives with all of us together with her, back in Delphi.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's so many different ways to look at it. And, I've now seen, thanks to you, a few of my past lives not on this planet.
Right.
And that's actually incredibly helpful, because once you can know it,
Mm-hmm.
but once you experience it and you feel it, everything changes.
It does.
Right?
So
Your reality changes.
I would love for you to share with us one of those experiences.
Oh, it was so neat. So when I first met my little guy with the 3 fingers, I didn't know where I was going to go. And when we went through the past life, it was a planet that was kind of purpley sky. And everything kind of looked like lava spires, and everything was just dark. There weren't any buildings, no vegetation that I could see.
Yeah.
And it just looked bare. And that's when I met the little guy. And then I realized that it was home.
Mm.
And that's when I looked down and I realized that it was me that I was seeing. It wasn't him that I was seeing. I was that person.
Yeah.
And it changes. It just changes how you feel. And it was this beautiful memory of just being home. And, I read your book and I've read other books. They talk about wanting to go home all the time. And now I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you have that experience, and, life on here is hard. It's meant to be, right?
Right.
So we can learn so much and have all these wonderful experiences that we want to have. And at the same time, on these other planets, they don't have the difficulty that we have. And it's just love. And they communicate better, right? Telepathically. And so there isn't lying. There isn't any of that yucky stuff that we have here. It's so different.
Yeah.
And they have so much love for us.
Mm-hmm.
We're their children. We're part of them. And they have so much love for us. And people have this, some people have this fear of them. And I wish they understood how lovely they are.
Yeah.
It's what I've experienced so far.
I completely get that, because every one of the private Meet Your Galactic Family and Guide sessions that I've done over the last, I guess 9 months since I offered that, everyone has, like you're saying, this really, like they want to cry. They feel so much love, and they feel like, wow, this this is my family, and like way more than their earth family feels. Right?
It's just, I'm sorry, Mom.
Yeah, my mom too, and Dad.
No, it's totally different. And it's also realizing that connection with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Here, there's so much polarity, we don't even realize that connection. And like one of my favorite movies is Avatar. And I love using that as an example of how interwoven we all are.
Yes.
And it's interwoven with our galactic families as well. It is not just here. This is such a tiny, tiny little piece of what's out there. It's so beautiful out there. Why would you want to limit yourself to just here?
Well, and again, I think there's fear that people have.
Sure.
Right? Because this is a known thing. And one of people's biggest fears is fear of the unknown.
True.
Which keeps them in their box, in their little comfort zone. And so that's been my experience, at least with people that I'm interacting with, in terms of, they don't want to necessarily know that they have these other lives that are not of Earth, but, at some point, it's not my job to convince them,
No, and actually that's a good point, because, it may not be their path this lifetime to even know that.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody is on their own journey.
Mm-hmm.
And, honoring our own path is honoring everybody else's as well. Just don't tell me I'm crazy. That's all I ask. Right? Just let me do my thing, whatever it looks like.
Yeah. So we do have a question from Kathy, which we kind of touched on, but do you ever get scared and don't want to communicate with them? She's asking.
After the first time, it was really scary. Absolutely. Feeling that I wasn't in control. And a few times after that, it still took me a while before I could, because the breath raises my vibration, and it was uncomfortable. Once I was in the energy enough that my cells kind of understood what was happening. Once I put myself to here, hand on the heart and one on the solar plexus, once I do that, then I'm okay. And sometimes it's a struggle to kind of get back to me. And then I wiggle my toes and ground myself. At first it was scary. Once I learned that they were me, it wasn't as scary. But I have, in fairness, I do have some very large grounding crystals now that I use when I meditate that help me stay here. Because sometimes, actually, once I did probably come out of my body a little too much.
Okay.
So I realized I had to remind myself to breathe. So I needed to be more grounded.
Yeah. Okay, so I just to touch on that too. So one of the things, just like with any kind of dimensional beings, there are different beings that reside in different dimensions and different frequencies.
Yes.
And so it's really important for me, and to get any of my clients or my UFO customers that do the extended spiritual, to really get their vibration into that higher frequency, because we only can have that match us come in. So if we are vibrating very low frequency, then we might get something coming into our space that challenges us a little. That doesn't mean it's good or bad. It's just right. And it's still an aspect of ourselves. Just
so true. I did find out, and if any of your listeners know what this is, please let me know. I'd be really interested. I was having a healing by a Reiki Master that I know that's in Washington, and she had witnessed a lot of the galactic stuff. So just kind of doing that healing, but she saw a yellow grid around me, and she was going to start taking that grid off, and they all kind of she heard this, no. She's like, what was that? And they were warning her, no, she cannot take that grid off. That is there to protect me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know a lot about grids. So if you do, I would love to have this conversation, but I don't know if that's a galactic thing. I don't know if it's because I have a hard time grounding that they have put this in place to ensure that whatever work I do, but she said it's there for safety. It's absolutely not to be removed.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know too much about that. I kind of know about, grids on the earth and stuff, but I mean,
My own weird yellow grid.
it's yours and it's there. So Kathy also is asking, do you literally change form like with 3 fingers, like you did with Brandy? I mean, like your fingers are doing weird things and your feet are, but it's not like you're necessarily shape-shifting.
Yes.
In your appearance, are you, or are you?
I am shape-shifting.
Okay.
So, and I only know that to be true because of what Brandy and what they saw. Okay. And it feels like I only have 3 fingers. Yeah. I mean, it feels the difference. And when Mantis came in, my feet morphed. Yeah. And shifted, and it was a little painful afterwards, but they did, my ankles shifted. No, I shapeshift. The first time it happened was in 2010 during a past life regression that I was doing at Denise's when we were learning how to do all that stuff. And that's when I went into a quick little galactic thing where I was on a platform with crystals. And then I shot through like 500 lives where I was an observer and I just saw little pieces of it. But they both said I shapeshifted into, I don't know what they're called, but it's Egyptian. And now I know it's also galactic, with the things with the ears and the long snout. It kind of looks like a headdress.
Okay.
It almost looks like the shape of a dog.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Anubis.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. So I shifted into Anubis, and that freaked them out. And we were supposed to go to lunch, and for 15 minutes, I couldn't move. Okay. Because I had to get back into my body. Mm-hmm. So yes, I actually do shapeshift, which is why my girlfriend refused to look at me when I was talking.
Okay. That makes sense. Actually, when I was speaking at the bookstore last month, one of the people in the audience asked, they said, are shapeshifters real? Because I think it was a man who was asking me the question. He's like, I was at the KTA, which is our local grocery store. I was at the KTA, and I really swear I saw someone that shapeshifted. And I'm like, yeah. I mean, shamans do it. Native American shamans shapeshift, right?
And I think it's one of those things, if you're not told you can't, you don't know why not.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and even I remember being in one of Denise's retreats a few years ago, and it was a shamanic retreat. And she had us basically shapeshift into an animal, like where our spirit animal is. And so I shapeshifted into a manta ray. And
how beautiful.
Felt my body truly in the energy of the manta ray. So, yeah.
I mean, and that's the, I mean, I've never done it where I've tried to necessarily. It just happens.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to see what happens when you come in September.
I am so excited.
So come play with me and Kat and see what kind of crazy.
Oh my goodness. I'm just so excited because to me, it has the same energy. Like Sedona has all these vortexes.
Yeah.
And so when you go to a place like that, even if you don't want to have an experience, chances are you're going to, if you're at all spiritual.
Yes.
And so for me, and there's lots of galactic stuff there anyway, but being in that vibration and with those people and in such a sacred group, you don't have that resistance.
Right.
And you're already vibrating so high with everybody around you because everyone's like-minded, right? So it's easy. So Hawaii is going to be the same thing. And I'm so looking forward to it. I can't wait.
Yes. Yes.
Be
So
fun.
yeah. So again, there are some spots available if anyone wants to come and play with me.
Yes, please.
So, well, okay. So all of this work that you're doing, I mean, you're trained in so many modalities, right?
Right.
But that
Right.
doesn't mean you necessarily do them all, or do you? Are you just kind of a whatever someone
Mm.
needs, or how do you like working with your clients, or how will you work
So
with
mostly it's one-on-one coaching, and it depends on what that person needs.
Okay.
Intuitively guided to, do they need just a reading? Do they need Reiki? Is it the galactic? Um, I almost always do past life regression because I just love that work. And
Yeah.
I think it's so valuable. And um, the clutter clearing, I actually love to do because I love to clean houses. So I
Well,
know it sounds really weird, but
yeah.
I'm a minimalist for the most part. And I think getting rid of stuff that's stuck is a great way to,
It moves energy because
it,
it
it
blocks our
really does.
mind. I mean, yeah, as a former interior designer and minimal, yeah, same.
Right,
Love
exactly. And so it's more kind of like you do, right? It's looking at the person, what their needs are, and then working around and truly what they're comfortable doing.
it. Yeah.
And again, the galactic healing isn't for everyone, but now I understand who it's for.
Hmm.
And so I can tell if they have a block that this works on, or if it will pass over too many layers that they actually have to do themselves.
That's a really good point.
Because sometimes going through the journey is the good stuff.
Yeah.
You learn so much going through that. I always think of it as a really tough hike. There's a hike here called Prisma. It's 1,400 feet down and it's straight back up.
Okay.
And so it's a tough hike. And halfway through, I'm swearing, coming back up, it's rough, but it feels so good when you're done
Hmm.
and you feel accomplished.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what some of that journey is. But sometimes you just get stuck and you need those roadblocks. I don't know if it's karmic. I'm not sure what it is. I think a lot of it is actually karmic stuff that needs to be released,
Hmm.
that can be released, but you still have that little bit of residue.
Yeah.
And so it just releases all of that.
Yeah. So we do have a question from Tracy who's asking, can people with control issues let go enough to have past life regression? So I'll let you
Yes,
answer.
I'm extremely controlling.
Me too.
Extremely controlling. I mean, especially, stuff like walk down 5 steps. I think, well, what about 10?
Yeah.
And I'm extremely controlling. So yes, it's possible. Really, it's, do you have the intent to want to work through it?
Yes. And do you trust the person that is guiding you?
Oh, that's huge.
Have to
You
have
have
trust.
to. You really have to. You have to trust the person, where they learned that. And a lot of the, when Lisa and I learned from a really great person, right? So a lot of it is also letting the person go where they need to go, and you don't control much of it. You really don't. You let them guide themselves, and you don't tell them what they're seeing or not seeing. They do the work.
Exactly.
You're just there to ask questions to help them get through certain places. Like, there's so many times that I'll be led through one, and it's like, go through a mist. I'm in a crystal cave. So there is no mist for me. I'm
Right.
in a crystal cave, or they'll say, don't do it yet. I'm already there.
Right.
Right. So I just go with it.
Well, and that's
Yeah.
so funny because these, over the last 6 sessions that I've been doing with the group, with the different galactics, some people they're like, "Oh, my people are already here. My galactics shut up." I'm like, "That's good."
Yeah.
So now I'm like, "Okay, if they're already there, great. For those of you who aren't there, okay, now we're going to bring them in."
Right. I mean, sometimes it just happens and you skip forward a few, and there's no way to do it. I don't think there's any way to do it wrong if you're with someone that you feel comfortable with.
Yeah, yeah. And doing a one-on-one session is very different than doing group.
Yes.
So if
Very
it's,
different.
yeah.
I mean,
And
group is wonderful and you can get a lot through with a group. They both have extreme amounts of value.
mhm,
The nice thing about the group, for what I've had, is that, you know, you have so many people there, and sometimes you do bounce off energies from other people.
mhm.
But you're all there for the same intention. So it can be beautiful. And the 101, you can really get deep.
Yes. And so that is what I wanted to bring up for
Yeah.
Tracy or anyone else that's interested in doing any kind of regression, is that when you do it one-on-one, the practitioner knows how deep you are and whether you need to go a little deeper and let go of that control a little bit more.
Right. And can help you heal it.
Yes.
Right. I'm a big proponent of going through the past life. It shouldn't stay painful.
No.
You can heal that timeline, right? And it heals immediately right now, and it's done.
Yeah. Because
You don't
it's
have to see it again.
right. I know.
It's very powerful and it's
Quantum.
beautiful. And then you can also, you know, you evaluate when you're done with the past life, you evaluate what the gift was in it. And what did you learn, even if it was a painful one? Because once you're through it and you see it, you're objective.
Yeah.
That pain's not there anymore.
Yep. And well, and the way that we were trained as well is you can change the storyline. You can rewrite the story.
Oh, I do it all the time.
So
I
just
do it all the time.
we can make it all up,
Yeah.
whatever. Like
Yeah.
it's all intention. Intention is everything, right?
It is. And it's a great way to get rid of fears of abundance. You know, a lot of us, especially in this work, we're monks, nuns,
Right.
you know, martyrs for many, 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 many lifetimes. And so now with abundance, we feel we shouldn't have it. We don't charge. We feel guilty if we have more than someone else. And that's not necessary at all anymore. Denise Lynn was one of those.
Yeah.
Right? She said
Right.
she'd give the front door off her house if anybody wanted it.
Yeah.
And she had to go back and heal those.
Yeah. Well, and Sunny did too. Sunny had to
Yes.
change that money mindset as well. So
It's like, it's okay. I'm worthy. I can actually have abundance. Yeah. It can be really difficult.
yeah. So Tracy's also wondering, does it need to be in person for the monitoring? And so
No.
I agree. It does not.
Yeah, I've done it both. I can say it's really funny. Before COVID, I was more of an in-person kind of healer for sure. Yeah. I love the one-on-one. I love the sacredness of it and the bonding. But I have to say, being long distance and doing it on Zoom, there's almost a better energy cut between the two. And you can get more, I think you can get deeper because you don't have that as much of a energetic exchange in person. Does that make sense?
It does to me. And so what's super interesting, because again, you and I, we have a very similar training. And then I've also had people who are QHHT trained on the show. And
Really?
they are not allowed to do it over Zoom. They have to do it in person. And part of that,
get too deep.
But yeah, so part of that is because they do, and if the communication shuts off, then they're still too deep. Now, what's interesting though is that even though I'm not officially trained in QHHT, I have read. I've got a whole bookshelf of Dolores Cannon's books, and so and I have had a QHHT session done, so I kind of know what the difference is or how it runs. And even over Zoom, I am able to get people to that deep, deep, deep level, same as I think QHHT, and I've never had any problems. So I think it's just about, again, just
I agree. I guess it depends on what you're working on. Like if it's massive trauma, might be good to do it in person.
Yeah.
So you have that, you know, you need a hug.
Right.
Or make sure that they have somebody after them. But some of the remote healing work has actually been some of the best.
Yeah.
I think.
So
And Zoom has ended up being wonderful. So
I would say for anyone that's curious about that, just trust your gut, trust your instinct, trust your knowingness. So if you feel like, oh, okay, I can relax over Zoom, then awesome. If you feel like, oh, I really need to do in person, then
I had one this morning with Elena. We
okay,
went through a hypnosis, lying on my bed with it so she could still see me.
right.
And it was to release some past fear,
Mm,
and went into three different lifetimes. And it was beautiful.
yeah.
It was super easy, so yeah,
Yeah.
one today. So
Yeah. But
very
so anyway,
valuable. Yeah.
it is. It is. And so, okay, well, we're going to have you back on.
I would love to. Thank you.
Yes, because I can't wait to like just see what unfolds for you. Because again, you've already had so much happen in the last year, and you are this beautiful lotus just blossoming
Thank
out.
you. Thank
And
you so much.
I'm
I
so happy
appreciate that.
of your
Thank you.
journey.
And I will continue to work on my guys so I find out more information for all of us.
Yes.
So,
And do you have a website or anything? How can people find you if they want to?
they can find me on Facebook. I don't have a website yet that's being made.
Okay.
So it's Catherine Riddell Decker is how you find me on Facebook. And I'm
Okay.
one of Lisa's friends, so you can find me there too.
Yes. So, okay. Well, thank you so much for being
you. Thank you so much. Blessings to everyone.
for coming out of the closet.
No.
Okay.
We'll just keep going.
That's right.
And I'll see you in September.
Yes. And so for everyone watching or listening, thank you so much for your time. And I'll see you next time on Connection to the Cosmos. Aloha.
Bye.